Well, welcome back to the tutorials. So in our previous tutorial, we sort of finished up a little bit dealing with our opening scene here. And now I want to continue talking about how we can refine sort of the functional aspects of our storyboarding. And one of the things I want to work on now is many times when you have a game with sort of these dialogue screens, you have it so that you have the text is sort of typed on the screen, right? So I want to actually add that function to our game so that we can type the text onto the screen character by character, just to add that nice little bit of ambiance or atmosphere to our game. And we're going to begin by actually going into Project Manager, Global Variables, and we're going to create a new section of, a new structure, I should say, of global variables. And let's go right to the bottom here. And we have the G manager, which is our game manager set of variables. And now I'm going to add the D manager. And I'm going to add two child variables to that, actually three. And this first one I'm going to call temp string. It's for a temporary string. The next one I'm going to call current string, and that's going to hold the current text that we're working with, that we want to type onto the screen. And then I'm going to use our trigger variable here, check for dialog, so that we can execute our external event that we're about to create. And let's go ahead and hit apply right now. And let's create our external event here. So let's add one. We're going to rename it. We're going to call this one type on dialog. Let's associate it with Basic Kingdom Room. And then let's go into Basic Kingdom Room here, and let's go into the Game Mechanics section and right-click on that, add other, and let's add our link to that external event. There it is, and let's place it underneath Game Mechanics. All right, so how are we going to do this? Let me set up another preview here for a minute so we can talk about how this works while our preview is loading. So when you have a string, right, which is a text, right, something like hello world, that string consists of multiple characters, individual characters, including things like space, the space key, right? That creates a character, a space holder as well, and that counts. You have two ways of counting sort of that string that you've created. Let's bring up our desk sort of dialog here to show this. So you've, again, two ways of counting this, and both are equally important in programming. You've got the amount of characters, right? That's 1, starting with the quotation mark here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, space is 6, 7, 8, space is 9, 10, 11, space is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, period is 17, end quote here is 18. You've got 18 characters for this string, but you count them, or you index them, refer to them, starting with 0. So you'd have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 18 characters, 17 index points, right? An index point is what you're going to be using to refer to the space in which these characters reside in your string. If you don't 100% get that just yet, you'll get it in a minute, okay, when we come back to it. All right. So let's go to our basic kingdom room here first. We've got to set this up. We've got this D key is released, which we've been using for testing purposes. Let's keep doing that. Let's delete what's in there now. And let's go ahead and let's give our string of a global variable an actual string. We're going to put some text into dmanager.currentString. And that's going to equal, let's go with the old tried and true programming hello world. Okay, so current string now has the text we're going to be working with. Let's execute our trigger variable here, value of a global variable, and that's check for dialog equals 1. And the other thing we want to do is we want to go to the bottom here and go into our Kingdom Room EEs and click on Kingdom Room Collisions. And at the bottom of this external event, we've got this hide dialog grouping that basically says when Bob is not in collision with the chest or the desk, go ahead and hide the dialog. Let's just toggle that entire section disabled for now so it won't run, because if we didn't toggle this disabled, it would prevent our dialog screen from showing up, actually. And we're going to fix this anyway at a certain point. All right. So now let's go onto our type on dialog external event. Let's add an empty event. And let's begin by sort of executing our trigger variable here. So value of a global variable, check for dialog. When that equals 1, let's run this code. And what is it that we actually want to do? Well, let's see. We want to show the dialog at this point, right? So we can see it while it's texting, while it's typing on the screen. And that means show a layer dialog. All right, we want to show that dialog layer. We also want to, do I want to do that there? I want to do that here. Let's create a sub condition that we're going to use in a minute. And I want to unpause a scene timer. And that scene timer is going to be called type the dialog and hit OK. All right. Now let's go down here and let's set up that timer. And the value of that scene timer, again, it's always, like, for me, it's always a good idea to start with 1 second and then move from there. The name of our timer, again, is type the dialog. And what do we want type the dialog to do? Okay, we need some information here, actually. So here's what we're going to do. You can't just say, all right, so show character 0 here, and then show character 2, and then show 3 and 4 and 5. It's not quite that simple, although it's a lot simpler than I think others make it seem. You have to say, all right, let's create a temporary string, a variable, and let's add the first character to it, which is index 0. So it'll say, okay, temp string is equal to the 0 character, which is the quotation mark. Great. Now, when you come back to that section again, that bit of code, you want to say, not let's show character 1, but let's say show character 0 and show character 1. And then the next time you say show character 0, character 1, and show character 2. So the way we do that is we created that temp string global variable in which we want to say the value string of a global variable, remember string is important here, of temp string is going to equal the following. It's going to equal itself global variable string dmanager.temp string plus the character, the next character. In this case, it's the first one. So how do we get a single character from a string? We use substring. Okay? So we write sub str, and then this has certain parameters. Okay, you see it here, parameters. It's got 3 that are important to us. The first parameter is you input the actual string you're working with, and that would be current string for us. So we would say global variable string dmanager.current string. All right, so that's parameter 1. Then we hit the comma, and now we have to add parameter 2. Parameter 2 in substring is the location, the index of where you want to take your character or characters from the string. For us, we want to start at 0 and then move our way up. So we need a variable to keep track of our position in the string. So we're going to create one here on the fly. It's a scene variable because it's just variable as opposed to a global variable. Variable, and since it's a value, it's a number, we don't need string here. So it's variable, we're going to call it counter. And then that takes care of our location. And then we hit comma for the third parameter. And the third parameter is how many characters you want to reference. And we just want to reference 1 character. That's it. So we close this out with parentheses, and we say take temp string, which currently has nothing in it, and add the first character at index 0 from our current string. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's put that value in to our dialog by changing the text within the dialog container to temp string, global variable string, because it's text, dmanager.temp string. All right, so what just happened is we took that first character at index 0, we loaded it into our temp string variable, and we just put that character in our text dialog. But now we need to update our location, right, our counter. So we add value of a scene variable, counter, add 1. Okay, now I'm going to copy this at the top to type the dialog, hit paste and paste, because I want to pause the scene timer and then reset it. All right, let's just see how we did. All right, let's run a preview here. If we did this correctly, it should, for each second, type a letter from our current string, which I believe we set our current string to hello world. So it should type HELLO space, which again counts as a character, and then world. Let's see how we did. I'm going to hit the D key now. All right, so it's kind of working, but you see you've got this 0 here. All right, let me explain why that is the case. First, let's change our time. The time of this is way too slow. So let's try like 0.1. Where does the 0 come from there? Okay. When it tries to take the value, the string value of temp string, there's nothing in it. And I don't mean there's a blank space. There's a difference between a blank space and null, nothing. Right now there is nothing in it. And so because it doesn't want to add nothing there, you can't add nothing, it places a value of 0 to put something in there. So one way you can get sort of past this is you can place in Project Manager your global variables. You can put a space in there as a space holder. You can do this, which I believe will get rid of that issue. Let me see here. I'm going to change start of game. I'm going to change the value of start of game to 1, just so we don't have to sit through the entire opening scene and just run our checks a little bit faster. So start of game, I'm going to say is equal to 1. And let's go ahead and run our preview now. Okay, and I'm going to hit the D key. Oh, it put in the quotation marks. All right, hold on. Let's place it up here. Let me get rid of that. It took it quite literally. What happens if I just hit the space key? Does that take care of it actually? Okay, so it did sort of leave a space here. It indented one space. You can see though that text pops up first. So let's go ahead and let's go into our basic Kingdom Room layout here, and let's go to our text dialog, open that up, and let's get rid of this now. Let's get rid of that in text. And I think we could go even a little bit faster with our dialog here. So I'm going to say 0.01, and let's try that. All right, hit the D key. All right, pretty cool. We're typing on text. All right, in the next tutorial, I think we're going to link this finally with our game itself, right? Right now, we're just hitting the D key. But we still have some work to do to refine this, including dealing with how to gracefully exit this timer here.